Sifting through the stories we create and believe about ourselves can be tricky.
Chantel Wright is a life coach and is here to take a dive into how to make sense of it all. Welcome.
Thank you. It's so good to be back. I just got back from Cairo and Kenya. I went to both, so it was gone for like 3 weeks.
Your pictures looked absolutely incredible.
Thank
Can you
you.
tell us a little bit about what you were doing there?
Yeah, so I took a group on retreat to Kenya, and we did safari and a bunch of fun stuff there. And then I was scouting out Egypt for future retreat, which is super fun. I know, I'm excited. So next year.
Okay, so something happened on this trip that really kind of focuses on the stories that we tell ourselves that might not be true.
Yeah, so it seemed like an inconsequential event during the time because it was really just one of my flights that we took from Cairo to Nairobi. And on this flight, it was probably it was the hottest flight I've taken in a long time, or ever for that matter. I was dying. My husband tapped me on the shoulder. He's like, "Are you dying? I am so hot right now." And I had sweat running down my back, and it was pretty miserable the whole way. And it was like a 4-hour flight, so it was pretty, it seemed pretty big. And after we got off the flight, we met up with some friends. And same thing, the story just, were you guys so hot? We were so hot. We were all dying on this flight. And after we kind of paused and took back a minute, if I was to ask you, what were the facts in that story, you would automatically tell me it was a hot flight, right? But was it actually a hot flight, or was that our perception? Because truth be told, when we got on the flight attendants were busy passing out blankets to the other passengers, and they had run out of blankets. And the flight attendant was like, "I'm sorry, we're out of blankets. There's nothing more," And the rest of the flight was packed with Kenyans and Egyptians, which are used to much hotter weather. And I had just spent 2 weeks with all of these Kenyans who were wearing coats and hats, like winter coats and hats in 80-degree weather. So for us, it was a hot flight, but for them they were freezing. So how often we tell ourselves the story of what's going on based on how we perceive things.
This is a simple story, but it is so mind-blowing when you really dive into the message, because it's all about our perception and our reality. And my reality and what I believe is true for me and how I'm experiencing the world could be totally different than your experience right now or yours.
Right. And how often do we run into conflict because we end up defending what we think is our truth? Right? Or how often do we hold ourselves back from something because we believe something to be true based on an opinion or something that's very relative?
It's so much self-sabotage, or the restrictions we have in our mind. How did everyone get through it, or how did you be mindful, or what were the tools that you used to get through the flight?
It was kind of after the flight, so much as we were all kind of commiserating and complaining about how hot it was, that it dawned on me that I remembered that flight attendant trying to pass out blankets at the beginning. And that I actually thought, we were 4 people on that plane of 250 people, and probably the other 246 people were freezing to death. And how, and I just simply pointed that out to our group. I said, we're hot, but how about everyone else that was freezing? So it's all relative in how we show up in what we do in things. I can tell myself the story of, I'm not good at being, on schedule or doing things for myself or whatever it is. And really, is that the truth, or is that the story I've been telling myself over the years to make me feel better about the fact that I've maybe been uncomfortable in a situation?
This is such a great reminder. We should be applying this to anything, like any hardship, especially checking in and saying, is this actually fact, or is it just my opinion in this moment? And that is a game changer.
Yeah.
So how do you shift? How do you, in that situation, instead of going back and telling yourselves, I can't do this, I can't do that, what is the tool that you can tell people?
Just simplifying it and breaking it down and recognizing what are the actual facts of the story. The facts of the story were I was on an airplane. The facts were my back was sweaty. But was the fact that it was hot? No, that was the story I was telling myself. So if I can shift that perspective and say it's maybe not as hot as I think it is, and just kind of look at a different perspective, a different point of view, and settle into that. And the sooner and sooner that we can recognize and do that, then the more easily we can transition out of those stories.
Start to question. Don't believe everything you think. Chantel, we love your wisdom. Okay, we have to wrap, but you have a restorative flow and sound healing on Wednesday, 7 p.m. at Core 7 Fitness in Sandy. New clients can register for $5 at core7fitness.com. Oh, we love when you are here.
Thank you.
I needed that message. All right. Up next, how to survive a tough break.